Good day. My name is Dr. Mosito. I'm a senior registrar in the Department of Virology at Nkosi Albert Luthuli Central Hospital in KZN. I am grateful for the opportunity to present this body of work as part of my course fulfillment for my master's degree. Our research project is titled The Patterns of HIV Drug Resistance in Newly Diagnosed Infants in KwaZulu-Natal. In sub-Saharan Africa, more than half of infants have HIV pre-treatment drug resistance, with predominant NNRTI-resistant mutations reported. Pre-treatment drug resistance is a threat to HIV elimination efforts and leads to adverse clinical outcomes such as advanced disease progression with increased morbidity and mortality in HIV-infected infants. There's a paucity of data on the prevalence and patterns of HIV drug resistance in these newly infected infants. So with our study, we set out to describe the patterns of HIV drug resistance in newly diagnosed infants in KZN. So we collected residual DBS cards from the 3 early infant diagnostic laboratories in KZN between November of 2022 and October of 2023. RNA was extracted from these DBS cards. Subsequently, PCR was performed for protease reverse transcriptase as well as integrase genes. We then did Sanger sequencing, and these sequences were analyzed using Genius software. Lastly, we used the Stanford HIV database to assess the HIV drug resistance mutation profiles. So our results showed that of the 92 specimens collected, 70 of these were successfully sequenced, and of those, 57% had drug resistance mutations. Majority of sequences showed NNRTI resistant mutations, with K103 being the most frequently detected mutation. The NRTI resistance mutations were observed in 6% of sequences generated, with M184V as the most common mutation detected. In our study, we did not detect any major INSTI or PI mutations. High-level resistance was most frequently observed against the first-generation NNRTIs, efavirenz and nevirapine. The drug resistance mutations detected conferred low-level resistance against the NRTIs, abacavir, lamivudine, amtricitabine, and didanosine. So in conclusion, the high prevalence of resistance to NNRTIs observed among newly diagnosed infants has continued to increase over the years, particularly with an increased resistance seen to nevirapine and efavirenz. This high NNRTI resistance prevalence exceeds the 10% threshold described by the WHO, and therefore supports the transition to a DTG first-line based regimen for these newly infected infants. So we support an ongoing HIV drug resistance population-based surveys in order to monitor emerging resistance mutations, as well as to serve as a quality indicator of the effectiveness of our current ART program. Furthermore, we recommend baseline HIV drug resistance testing in infants born to treatment-experienced mothers, as this will help optimize ARV regimens to improve clinical outcomes in these vulnerable infants. I'd like to thank my supervisor, Dr. Khan, as well as my co-supervisors, and the NHLS research grant for funding this project. Thank you.